I'm doing.
Well. Call it, I guess, huh? It's 6:30, so we'll commence the March 18th, 2024 Lake Elmo Parks Commission meeting. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next order of business is to approve the agenda. And if somebody wants to make a motion for such.
I move that approve the agenda with the minutes being 24 instead of 23.
February 1st, 24. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions or opposition? Abstentions? Okay. Next item is to approve minutes for February 21st, 2024. Are there any adjustments or clarifications? If not, excuse me, we could take a motion to approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nay? No nays? Motion passes. And then we are on to public comment. And it looks like we do have public comment, at least one. And those that would like to speak can come up, introduce themselves with their address, and then just a reminder that 6 minutes, and we aren't able to engage in dialogue. We might have a clarifying question or something.
I think we're just fine. Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
Sure.
Susan Dunn, 11018 Upper 33rd Street, North Lake Elmo, Minnesota. As you may know, I kind of started on the Parks Commission many years ago, and it's been near and dear to my heart ever since. And I walk Lions Park every day. And I don't know what the long-range plans are, but I was wondering if perhaps you could make sure that a gazebo or some kind of a sun shelter is there by the parks, by where the kids have the little swing sets and so on. I noticed a lot of times parents are up there with like little tiny kids watching older, young, maybe 4 years old on the swings and so on, and there's no really place out of in the shade where they can be. So I don't know if that's on your plan or not, but I would appreciate you maybe putting that as a priority. And the trees seem to be looking good. They're coming along all right. Appreciate that. And I don't know if you ever have like work sessions where you kind of have people come in and help, but if you ever need like staining or some help, keeping things maintained up there, put out a call. I'm sure people would respond because there's some little bit of repair work that needs to be done on that building. Like how soffits and stuff are having some issues. Don't want wasps and stuff getting in there and maybe causing problems to the baseball crew. All right, thank you ever so much, and thank you for volunteering for our city. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Appreciate it. Our next order of business is Sunfish Stargazing Event.
Just gotta go all through this all once.
Yeah, yeah.
While he's setting that up, I just thought I'd hand out, I got a few brochures of some of these are the adult programs that we're doing. It's called, we're calling it Nature for Life. Programs for old enough for people to drive. I just have the three, so I'll have to share those ones.
We can share.
But I do have more at the summer camp.
Let Hank see.
And these are some camps, just so you guys get an idea of
Thank you.
what we're up to right now. And this program we're talking about would fit in with this NFL program. You like it NFL, but it's Nature for Life.
Gets people's attention that way, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna close my whole document. We'll just go this route. Okay, thank you. Well, we'll go this way. Commissioner, council?
Are you logged into that computer?
I am.
That's kind of strange. Go ahead, anyway, I'll think about it.
Yeah, so thank you, Commissioner, thank you, commissioners. In front of us today, we have Verity Davis. She's a new program coordinator for the Sunfish Lake Park. She's with us tonight to answer any questions you guys may have. The Sally Manzaro Center is looking to host an event coming up in October. The event is a stargazing event that they plan to be held there from the hours of is it 9?
7 o'clock to about 10.
To about 10. So according to our current schedule there, our hours do close at 9, so this is an event that we're looking for a motion from you guys to approve to city council to extend those hours for this event. Again, the Sally Manzaro Center does a lot of events for the community as far as just nature, bees, butterflies, a number of other summer school programs for kids. And I'll turn that over to Verity to talk a little more in depth about that and the program itself.
Thank you for having us tonight. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing there now. You've got our Nature for Life programming. This is where this program of stargazing would come in. The Minnesota Astronomical Society is going to be presenting. So they will do a program from 7 to 8, and then we will have telescopes set up along the prairie stretch there and have people be able to come out and view, and then volunteers will also help them learn more about the sky while they're getting a chance to view it. Some of the other things we're doing over at the Nature Center is we're going to be doing in April, a local resident, Tim Hughley, is going to be coming to do walking sticks. This is just a gentleman that's come into the park. He paints walking sticks and leaves them in our park for people to use. Some people take them home, and he finds that very flattering. So he just makes more and brings more. So we're actually having him just do a presentation for us, and then people will be able to paint their own walking sticks and take them home with them. So we're doing a lot of different things where we're bringing community members in to help create an education for this community. Do you guys have any questions at this point?
Not a question, but I first just thank you for doing the educational programming. I know that's one of the items that's in our comp plan is for educational programming
Sure.
and community programming, and that and nonprofit entity is doing that and leading the way is something to be noted, and I really appreciate that, the work that's being done and the programming that's being done. My one question would be just safety related.
Sure.
There isn't lighting out at Sunfish Lake Park in the parking lot, which obviously is very helpful for stargazing.
Yes.
But not for safety necessarily. So I guess this is October, I don't know how far in advance you've thought about this, but do you have any plan for addressing safety without lighting? I think we're talking about probably what, 6 o'clock
Yep.
sunset?
Right,
Something
about
like that?
6:30.
Okay.
And that's a good point, and I will be honest, I have not thought about that part of it, of having the lighting in the parking lot. We can definitely look into being
Yeah,
able to take.
because you're expecting children, right?
No, this would be just for
Just
adults. This is sort of a date night kind of thing we're
Oh.
doing. So we would just like, we just want the parents to come out and have a good time. We're gonna have little nibbles and little snacks for everybody. And that was what we were kind of aiming for
But
as adults.
he's right, that I've been out at meetings in the winter out there.
Sure.
And with a whole bunch of cars in the parking lot. And it does get a little bit tricky, so even words of advice or caution as
Sure.
the meeting is wrapping up would be very good.
Okay, yep, I think that's something we will have to include in our plan for this event, and we definitely will take care of that.
We did install a light, motion active.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Tony Manzera, 5050 Kirkwood Avenue, Lake Elmwood. We did install a light about a year ago, a motion activated light right at the roof of the nature center, so that when people walk anywhere near it, it lights up the parking lot pretty well.
Does that, okay,
That was requested by a group that came one evening about a year ago, and we put it in.
okay. Thank you.
Is there any other questions I can answer for you guys, or anything else you would like to comment on for? Thank you for your
No,
time.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. We appreciate it. Adam, just to clarify, the park, the gates close at 9, but the park actually, and maybe you said this, I apologize, closes at
Dawn to
sunset.
dusk, correct, yeah.
Or,
Yep.
so,
Those are the hours that are set for that park.
so we're actually extending it from 6 or 6:30 to 10:30, something like that.
Correct.
Does the staff have concerns about doing this?
Through our discussion, we didn't have any concerns. You brought up a good point as far as the lighting, but no other safety concerns that we had initially discussed.
Okay. Does somebody, does anybody have further questions for anyone? Do we have anybody that does want to make a motion on this?
I'll make a motion. I move to recommend to City Council the request to extend Sunfish Lake Park hours until 10:30 PM on October 19th, 2024, with October 26th being considered to host a stargazing event.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion on the table. We have further discussion? Shall I call the question? The motion is to recommend City Council request to extend Sunfish Lake Park hours until 10:30 PM on October 19th, 2024, with October 26th being considered to host a stargazing event. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? That's none. No abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item that we have is the Greenway Trail item.
Just 'cause I'm getting the same thing and everything, so. Back in August 2023, we discussed extensions of our park and trail system. Staff presented some potential future options of extensions of our trail. During that discussion, we talked about where does the Greenway Trail fit into our system and how do those connections tie into what we want to propose for the future. With us today is Connor from Washington County. He's a planner with Washington County, so he'll be here to talk with us about the future of that Gateway Trail. I open up for you guys to ask any questions in regards to the future of that, as well as financial status, where that might go, what might help us lead to that Greenway Trail as well. So at that point, I'll lead it over to him, and we'll see if we can get this.
Slide right in.
Awesome. This will work great.
Hi, everybody. My name is Connor Schaefer. I'm a senior planner with Washington County. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners and staff, for having me today. I'm going to talk about the Central Greenway Regional Trail. I'll begin with an introduction of Washington County's park and trail system in general. I think that's a good place to start. It's been a while since I've been in front of the Lake Elmo Parks Commission. A lot of new faces. I'm going to review the Central Greenway Regional Trail Master Plan, and that's the document here that provides the guidance that it sounds like this group is looking for and is interested in. So I'm not only just going to talk about the plan, I am going to touch a little bit on the process, because I think that's an important step to understand too. I'm going to talk about recent progress. So the county has been working on this plan, kind of implementing it in some phases in the last couple of years that I'm going to touch on as well. And then I'm going to zoom out and talk about big picture. What is the county planning to do within the limits of Lake Elmo as far as developing trails, specifically around our county highway system within Lake Elmo too. So there's a map at the end for that as well. And then I'm happy to answer and talk with this group about any questions or discussion that you might have. So as promised, I wanted to start kind of big picture, the county park system in general. We have over 4,400 acres that we own across the county, and over 12 miles of regional trail within the county as well. Consists of regional and county parks, park reserves, for example, like Lake Elmo, and regional trails, a couple that we have throughout the county. And then we also have kind of future plans to build that out too, and so that's what these planning documents really help. We also own and operate the Stillwater Historic Courthouse as well. We see, we're expected to see actually over 2 million visits here when the 2023 numbers come out. So really well-loved, well-used by not just people within Lake Elmo, but people across the county and across our region. We've got a lot of great recreational opportunities, like some of them which really coincide with the city park system here, but some of them really we have our own niche with like camping, swimming, picnicking, boating. More of that nature-based pursuits is really what we're looking to serve within our park system as well. So I wanted to highlight that as well. And I always include this slide in all these presentations because these are the people who make it happen. I think that's really important. It takes a lot of coordination to have a system that's spread out like ours. So it's maintenance staff, planning staff like me, administration, guest services staff. You all know that it takes a village sometimes to operate these park systems. So there's actually a story behind each one of these pictures. So if you have time, if you want, I can go over some of the stories and the people that are behind the scenes here at Washington County Parks. Well, let's talk about the Central Greenway Regional Trail now. And the first thing I wanted to define is the term regional trail. It's a little different than what a state trail is or what a city sidewalk might be. It's a little bit different. It's a term that we're using pretty intentionally in these documents. The first thing a regional trail is it serves a regional audience, meaning it must attract users from not just the city, but across the city, across the county. So that means it must have some destinations that really matter to people across the region as well. So things like downtown Lake Elmo, other like commercial areas, things like population centers, things like Lake Elmo Park Reserve, draws that bring people from across the area. The other thing I want to point out with regional trails is that they are the real tree trunks of the trail system in Washington County. Similarly, it plays a similar role than our county highway system does, where we have local roads kind of weave in and out of them or branch in and out of them. That's how we envision our regional trail system as well. We're that arterial connection for those local trails to build into and to build out of, if that makes sense. So that tree trunk is a really strong analogy, I think, for what we're trying to develop with our regional trail system. The other thing I want to mention here is that regional trails are built for people, not just bikers. They're built for walkers, people with rollers, wheelchair users as well. So this is an all abilities type of service that we're trying to provide with our regional trails. And then last thing is that we do have a design standard when it comes to these regional trails, and that's what you see the diagram here in the bottom, and then the actual real world implementation of that with the photo up top. We're talking about 10-foot wide bituminous pavement with a good buffer between the vehicles and the trail user. As you can see, there is like a good wide buffer there. It's usually has a little bit higher amenity type trail, so there's good signage, nice and easy accesses and grades. You can see in this case, you can actually have somebody biking and walking in separate directions and not run into each other, so that's where that spacing really comes into play. So that's an example of what these regional trails really want to look like when we build it out. I'm happy to talk more about that too if you have more questions. The second term I want to define here is what a master plan is or a long-range plan is. Once again, that's the document, is what it looks like, but it's really a culmination of a longer process. This document provides guidance on where the alignment for a future regional trail is, what kind of improvements, uses and facilities are allowed on that trail, and then resource management. So if there's natural resources within the corridor of that trail, we also want to tackle that as well. And some corridors that makes more sense than others, but it is something we look at. Why are these plans important? Well, first, it allows us to purchase and develop these trails. It gives us more access to more funds. With this document, we are able to pursue state and regional money to build this trail. Also allows us to work with the community really closely on developing it and make those plans and put those plans in place now so that implementation is easier later down the line. It also allows us to consider operation and maintenance needs as well. Last but not least, it really provides a good opportunity for us to do public engagement that's needed for these projects. So during these stages, we do open houses, we put together committees and things like that to hear from the residents about where they want to see the trail to. So that's an important step in this longer process, is that public engagement. Some background information on what informs these long-range plans. They must take into account the kind of regional vision that's set by the Met Council. We also have a bike and pedestrian plan that looks at not just regional trails, but also county trails. That informs our plan. And then we also have county road survey information that really informs our plan too. So once we choose which corridor we're planning, I do want to highlight kind of the partnership that exists there. The county works really closely with the cities involved within that project area, and the Metropolitan Council. We usually bring on a consultant too to bring their expertise into the work too. And we create this project partnership to create this document. So I do want to zoom in on the actual corridor we're here to talk about today, Central Greenway Regional Trail, specifically the Lake Elmo segment. But you can see that the vision for this trail exceeds not just Lake Elmo. It goes all the way south to Cottage Grove Ravine Regional Park and all the way north to Big Marine Park Reserve in May Township. This is really the central tree trunk trail in Washington County. That's the way we're thinking about it. Kind of cuts down the middle of the county, all the way, almost all the way to the north, almost all the way to the south. So Lake Elmo is the central link in that. Hence why we have that Lake Elmo segment outlined there. The south segment was planned in 2017, and then in 2019, that's when we pursued the Lake Elmo segment. We do not have a master plan for that north segment yet. Just to zoom in a little bit closer on the corridor we were looking at, these are kind of the terminus that we were looking at when we did this plan. We wanted to start at County Road, just north of I-94, and our finish line was where Manning and 36 were coming together with the new interchange there. So those were the parameters. It's really that link between Lake Elmo, Woodbury, Oak Park Heights, Stillwater, and Grant, because they all kind of come together up at that Manning interchange. The first thing we did, and what we do with all these projects, we establish those project goals. I'm not going to read them out to you directly, but just know that these are really key and set the stage for the project process. And anytime we had a question about, how do we choose this route over this route, we always referred back to these goals. And that's a really important part of this process too. How do we meet our project goals? Just a brief timeline of what this planning process consists of. We have that public engagement and input. We go heavy on that right of way, so we understand where the priorities are for the community. Then we develop different concepts and we analyze those different concepts, the trade-offs between Route A versus Route B, and we look at the pros and cons of that. And then we work together to craft that new vision and that plan at the end. And then stakeholder engagement happens throughout. So intermittently at key project milestones, we are going and working with parks commissions, for example, and working with the community on each step of the way for opportunities to hear their input on those options at that time. So this process produced a preferred route. That's what this map shows here. I did try to zoom in on a portion of the part because a portion of the trail is already built. That's that solid red line that you can see as it goes north through the park. So this is the route. This is where the project led us as far as our route determination. Once again, the dashed lines are segments of the route, at least back in 2019, that were unbuilt, and so the dashed segments are the ones that to be built. And so the thought is the county will continue to work with the city to build out this trail as we were able to. Something I want to point out here with considerations for a long-range plan like this. First thing I want to point out is that these are very long-term documents. We have plan documents from over 20 years ago that aren't fully built out. So it starts with the plan, and that's a really important first step, but I also like to call it step 0. It's not even step 1 of a fully developed system. Really, the county then, after it has a plan, can work on funding opportunities to create a pre-design process, which is your step 1, and then your final design and construction, which is your step 2 and 3. So none of those steps really are determined at this point, at this stage in this longer project, but it always starts with a plan, and that's what we were able to produce through this process. For the most part, these trails come in phases. So as we build developments come through, or as we do county road projects, that's when we'll do that segment of the trail. It's unlikely that we do 10 miles of trail at once. Not that we couldn't, but that's typically a phasing approach is usually the best way for how we implement these. And then we also look at opportunities to get these built with partnerships. So as a developer develops an area, for example, working with them to dedicate the land or to dedicate the land and build the trail is a key part of the way that these get built across the county as well. I know Lake Elmo's been successful in having a lot of trails built with some of their newer developments as well. Yeah, it all goes to show that this plan is really key to help set the stage for those to go forward with, to have those conversations with developers, to have those conversations with grant opportunities that are available, and to look at CIP projects as well. It starts with a plan that sets the stage for that. So what have we been doing since 2019? I do want to highlight a couple different construction projects here. The first was one that we did in 2022. If you are familiar, or if you visited the park last year, you probably saw some construction equipment looking at the pavement through that park. The existing trails in Lake Elmo, especially that central one, which is designated as the Central Greenway, was in really, really tough shape. We do a pavement index for all of our parks and system as one of our lowest scoring segments. And it was also one of our most used segments, so it made a really great candidate for a refurbishment. So we repaved and regraded segments of the trails within Lake Elmo, which was really important. We've gotten great feedback from it. We've seen a lot of people come and try and use it since then. So really successful project. As you can see, it's kind of that central spine trail that brings you almost all the way to the north part of the park there too. The project did include a couple of other things. We redid a parking lot, and then we put in a canoe and kayak launch as well. But did want to highlight the trail work that we did there as part of that project last year. And then here in 2023 and into 2024, we're going to be redoing the Eagle Point Lake parking lot. And though that's not part of the trail, it is a trailhead that'll serve as a trailhead for the larger trail. So did want to get that on the radar of this commission as well. We're looking at, one, really fixing a lot of stormwater management issues we have there. The pavement there is also really falling apart, so refurbishing that. Even putting a kiosk or kind of a trailhead building on that side of that side of the parking lot as well. So we're looking at those types of improvements on Eagle Point Lake Trailhead this year. So there is a website available out there. We've already kind of started pre-site work on the site, but there'll be more information that we'll make sure that gets in the hands of your residents in the future as we tackle that project here in 2024. All right, my last topic I want to talk today is just zoom out and talk about the trail system and as it pertains to our county highway system. So this is an excerpt of our bike and pedestrian plan. The scale isn't great on an image like this, so it actually turned out pretty well here. As you can see here, where you see the blue lines, that's where we're trying to create an off-road trail network. So we do have shoulders available on some of our county roads across the county. But here in Lake Elmo, maybe that's the most interesting for you all here as to where we identifying corridors for that off-road trail system. That's what you see in blue. And then yellow is where you see that on-road shoulder system as well. So you can see the different county highways within Lake Elmo and what we have planned there too. This is, I can already see segments that need to be updated of this map because this map is a couple years old. So as the city continues to kind of build out some of this with the county, that we can update these documents as well. Once again, thanks for the time and opportunity to present to you today. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
First, I'll say thank you on behalf of our commission for coming and presenting. Appreciate it. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Connor. Thanks for that presentation. On the preferred route within Lake Elmo of the Central Greenway Regional Trail, do you have any idea on priorities or phasing within that section? I know as a commission, we've talked about connectivity as well. And it seems like there are some low-hanging fruits, which I could advocate for here, but I'm just curious what you might be planning.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, Commissioner, for that question. Yeah, I think, once again, I mentioned earlier that phasing of these projects are really important, so you're right, finding which of those phases might be priorities. I'd be curious on what this commission feels those phasing are. I think we would be open to taking that feedback. I know one thing that the county's really talked about is getting connections to that high school. So the more northern part of this segment, we have a lot of high schoolers who'd like to be able to bike or walk to school, either for after-school functions or for school itself. That's a big priority that we've heard from quite a few folks. So that's one. I know the actual County Road 14 segment there, as we see traffic really uptick on County Road 14, I think the county is likely to do a county road project to help improve that. And I think at that point, that would be the right time to then explore trail options. So we're waiting for that kind of domino to fall before reaching the right timing for the actual trail segment for that more southern portion.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I see that section of Highway 14 is really important for us as a Parks Commission to connect various parks, Sunfish Lake Park, and then we have downtown VFW, Lions Park. So that's important for us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess as we look at that, I know it's in here kind of opaquely in this map, but it looks like your plan, your preferred route is to actually have the trail cross Stillwater Boulevard. And I know I have personally crossed that and it's a little wonky, but there are some new stoplights, so I would guess I would just consider opportunities there to make that safer.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Would you be able to tell us more about the current plan for crossing Stillwater Boulevard?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioners, you can see where we have it on this map here. I think at the time, what we really looked at and when talking to a lot of people wanted us to explore, and we really did, was an underpass or overpass to get you from Lake Elmo on the other side of the train tracks and the road to that Sunfish Lake side of County Road 14. At the time, it was seen as cost prohibitive, and engineering and price of that was really, really high. But it was something we did explore. So what we were really looking at is where can we use, where would be the best crossing that wouldn't be cost prohibitive in that way. I think if, as Lake Elmo builds out, as Washington County looks to improve that system, as more and more funding sources are available for larger bike and pedestrian projects, I think that's something we could reopen. But at the time of this plan, we did look at that existing crossing where 17 and 14 come together by the elementary school as an option, and then the other option was Lake Elmo Ave, where it connects there too. As existing crossings that we could improve and use the trail as a reason to improve those crossings. Actual specific crossing treatments, we actually try to stay out of in the master plan because they're such long-range documents, and different best practices evolve really for what are the best crossing improvements. So we want to use the best of what's available when we're ready to go and make those improvements. But we're happy to, those are great suggestions and notes I'll bring back as far as priorities of this commission for crossings. And traffic engineer, make sure that I get those in his hands as well.
Yeah, from the city side, one of the more important things that we would need to know is which side of 14 you're going to be on downtown. So basically from Lake Elmo Avenue going to the northeast, we really don't have much right-of-way or public land there on either side of that road. Yeah. And when the county redoes 14 at some point, we're going to have to coordinate to figure out what side is the trail going to be on, because we don't want to go back and forth. I think part of that would also determine what does your intersection when 14 hits 15. Is 15, are you going to go up on the west, you're going to go up on the east? Mm-hmm. And I can see arguments for staying on one side of 14 and the other side of 14 based on where you're gonna be on 15. So those are, details are way out there, but we need to know, as we're doing development and redevelopment or doing land decisions, it'd be beneficial for us to get right of way wherever we can in case you need something.
Yeah, we do have more detailed layouts that will zoom in on those segments. Maybe that'll be helpful. I can pass along to Adam too. That at least at the time in 2019, what we were thinking. The nice thing with these documents are exactly what City Administrator said, is that they are long-range documents. If we feel like, based on the existing conditions here in 2023, 2024, say we should be on the north side or south side, this plan does not, that wouldn't be a barrier, the plan. We wouldn't have to switch anything for the plan. These are, higher level plans than that, as far as having both sides of the street open going forward. But regardless, really good information to bring back and something to keep in mind as we coordinate future with the city with these conversations.
Yeah, the coordination is very important, because I know we've looked at developments south of Lake Elmo Park Reserve along that road, and, they propose some sidewalks. I do not think they propose anything that meets your standards. And so, should we not approve those sidewalks only to have you come in a few years later and make them bigger and better, or should we do them at the same time? That coordination needs to occur. That's one of my comments. The other thing is, will the extension of Manning, is that where you will add in that, when it ties back into 36? I haven't looked at the details of that project, but that's where you would bring in the trail at that point. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Connor, I have another comment regarding the whole plan, so from Big Marine all the way down to Cottage Grove, Ravine Regional Park. I think that Lake Elmo is unique and really special in that this proposed trail, the preferred alignment, is actually going through like Lake Elmo, which has a downtown, if you will, whereas a lot of these other cities don't. So that's really nice. But I see just one thing to be aware of. You talked about how the Eagle Point trailhead is being improved this year. And I guess that raises just a couple of considerations for me. Number one, it's a trailhead access within a paid park. And if this alignment does go through downtown Lake Elmo, we certainly have had discussions before about some parking concerns, and with the proximity to Sunfish Lake Park as well, sometimes parking can already be getting tight there. And so I guess I would just, offer the comment that access is going to be something that we hope that you might think about, how our park system might provide some additional accessibility there, and how we can work together and make sure that we're not really creating unnecessary bottlenecks some places, and making sure that access is not restricted for people.
Yeah, Chair, Commissioner, thank you for that comment. That's absolutely a priority of us when we were planning these. You can see on the map here, this is could be seen much easier with a more zoomed in image. The P's on there are parking opportunities within here that we try to identify within the corridor. What we found is exactly what you said, which is some of the parking opportunities, specifically in the Lake Elmo segment of this corridor, are going to be a challenge. So we hope to supplement that with other opportunities to the south and to the north, where maybe those opportunities will be a little bit easier. If there are opportunities within the city proper, we'd be really open to that. We've had conversations with Cottage Grove in the past year or two. You can see there's on the segments that we have built in Cottage Grove, they're having those same conversations, having some of their city parks act as kind of pseudo trailheads for people wanting to access this trail. So we're open to those conversations, and we'll have to keep kind of monitoring it, and happy to provide information or to work with city staff on where those opportunities might exist.
And in your opinion, what would it take if, let's say, Lions Park doubled as a trailhead? Would it simply be, like, is there a certain amount of spaces that you want to, would need to see? Is there signage that the county would provide? Like, what would that coordination look like if there was an opportunity there?
Yeah, we're still developing those with Woodbury and Cottage Grove right now, so I think we would have those materials as far as how to best sign it, what, you know, how many spaces we might need. We're having those conversations right now, so I don't have answers for you right now, but we can get those to you, because I think those are important numbers to have, especially as Lake Elmo continues to develop. Yeah, we'd be happy to provide that information to you once we have a good idea of exactly what that might look like.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
that would be a great coordination opportunity, I think.
Would you be able to tell us more about the north entry to the Lake Elmo Park Reserve? I know, I think past plans didn't go through, and I'm excited that it does. And I know, I ask this with the background that a lot of, we hear input from citizens about getting access, especially, I suppose, the north side citizens, getting access to the park and not having to drive around to the south side or bike, preferably. So can you tell us more about that access point?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioners, thank you for that question. It's one that we get a lot from folks too now. Our biggest challenge with providing north access to the park is the railroad line. Right now, that north access is a maintenance road access and an emergency vehicle access only. So we have it fenced off. I think the hope is that in the long term, we're able to work with the railroad to either improve that or provide a better trail-specific way to access that part of the park. We do have our maintenance building, and we will be upgrading our maintenance building in the next couple of years on that north side of the park. So we see that as kind of more of a maintenance area. So if we were to put parking somewhere up on that northern side, I think it would be more similar to what we have on the west side as far as like more gravel lot, and still kind of keep your central entrance to the south. But yeah, we hear those comments too, and I think our biggest challenge is being able to work with a willing partner on the railroad as far as improving the access there and allowing more traffic. But we broached that conversation several times, and there just isn't any movement or interest from the railroad to provide a public access on the north side of the park at this point, fortunately. So the best thing we hope to do is eventually get to the point where we can get a trail, potentially a trail access on that side.
Okay. So I guess to get south, you've got to cross the railroad somewhere.
Yeah.
But it isn't necessarily, it could be that it moves to a different point.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, at the time, we had a couple of okay options, but I think what we landed is that the best time to answer that question is during that pre-design phase. And so let's do our best guess right now, but leave a lot of opportunities that might be out there that will present themselves as we get closer to a larger project along that county road, for example, or the railroad changes their business model or things like that. So keeping opportunities open for what might work best in the future is probably still our best bet.
Well, I guess I would ask the open-ended question of what can we help with? What does the county need from the city? How can we be of service?
Yeah, Chair, Commissioners, I think you identified a great one, and staff's been great to work with as developments come through the city, if they're along this corridor, making sure that right-of-way is dedicated. If the developer can actually build the trail, that's got a win-win for a lot of people. The city does a good job working with us now. We review developments as they come in. The county has an opportunity to comment on those at this time and submit those comments to the city to then work with the developer on those. So I think that system's working relatively well, or at least has in the past, so we can continue doing that. I think learning about opportunities like the Lions Park development and other improvements you're making to the park system to see how they can complement ours, I think those are great. So regular check-ins, I'm happy to come here every year, every other year to have a meeting on a specific topic you're interested from the county's perspective on. And what it does is I come back with a list that I make sure I disseminate to people within the park system. And that's another great way to make sure that we're coordinating is these kind of regular updates too. So that would be another opportunity going forward too.
Great.
But at this time, your plan does not require any financial planning on Lake Elmo's part.
So, we have a cost share policy that exists outside of our long-range plan. So as projects get developed and the county's participation in county roads, for example, that cost share policy would apply to those projects. The plan itself doesn't, it doesn't sign anybody up for anything specifically, the county or the city or.
But didn't
any of those.
identify anything.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yep, yeah.
So as of right now, there are no necessary funds from the Lake Elmo Parks budget needed to support this.
Right, the purpose of this document isn't to provide those. It provides estimates for development of the trail, but it doesn't assign specific dollar amounts to different parties within that.
Okay, further questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one more question for you, Connor. Or I guess, again, it's more of a comment on the vision for the county trail network across the county. And this is something that we talked about last fall as a commission when we were thinking about where are the missing links within Lake Elmo. And one thing that, might be useful for you to know is the kind of personal experience that we have here seeing how people use areas in Lake Elmo. And I guess I would just like to highlight the vision for County Road 17 versus 15, that section right along Lake Elmo, the lake itself. And I know I personally see people walking dogs, strollers. I saw someone in a motorized scooter, so someone that has some limited mobility, going along that section of 17, which is a vision for existing on-road network. Of course, the new elementary school, provided that a couple other hurdles get crossed, is planned to go along 17 as well. And I'm just wondering if there's, if you could take the comment back that, it seems like the need is a lot higher along 17 for maybe an off-road network versus along 15, along that section of Manning.
Yeah, Chair Commissioner, thank you for that comment. I'll bring that back as well. I think at the time when this plan was developed, I think the county had recently completed an improvement project on County Road 17 at that time and did have options for an off-road trail at that time. That time, the decision makers decided to go with that wider shoulder versus off-road. There's always trade-offs with those decisions, financial trade-offs especially. So I think at that time, I think the county was open to having that, but through that process, came to that compromise. If the city were interested in reopening that or thinking about that in the future, or, these road projects, they don't last as long as you want them to. So, if that were to come back up, that would be a conversation we'd be very open to having and absolutely comment I can bring back as well. So I think the thought is this was reflecting Lake Elmo's thoughts at that time, and if those thoughts have changed, it's great comments for us to know about on the county side of things.
Okay,
So appreciate
thanks.
that.
Is the county fairgrounds a critical connection point?
Chair, Commissioners, I would consider it a connection point. I don't know if critical because of different destinations within Washington County. Maybe you would, depending on what your definition of critical is.
Yeah. Well, one would be parking, and the other one would be crossing the road and as part of that decision on which side of the highway to go on.
Yeah.
So how much would that fairgrounds impact that decision or not? Just a thought there.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be in the conversation about what makes sense from a crossing standpoint. And I know, our
And
traffic
parking.
engineer knows that area really well. Yeah, as far as what the needs might be for crossing improvements and if a trail were to come through there.
Parking there is on the same side as the high school. Commissioner pointed out that's.
Oh,
good.
great, yeah, on the east side.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is the Pebble Park Playground replacement.
Still isn't like you.
I don't think so. We're fine right over there. Oh, can you see it or no? I can see it on my laptop.
Yeah, you,
Tactile, I haven't
down on your bar down below, you got 2 PowerPoints open.
Yeah, but I see it on my laptop, but not there.
wonder how much kids really use this.
That's what I was wondering too.
I rarely see kids.
I don't know.
Thing.
And it pops up across on the opposite side.
They like to put pebbles inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minimize,
That's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah.
The ones I've seen have had mesh in them.
Often they do, but small pebbles.
Yeah.
Like what's up there?
You can see it on your laptop?
Yeah, I have it on my laptop.
try the left one when you go PowerPoint. Go back to the PowerPoint down below.
Can you go sharing options and just mirror screen?
There it is.
You got
You
it.
got it. There you go.
Way to troubleshoot.
We can all help.
That's one thing about a computer. We all are experts.
I am not.
That's why I've got my paper.
Okay, the Pebble Park Playground set, as you know, last month, it was actually November, we discussed the playground, kind of where it sat and our potentials of upgrading that playground. So this playground was installed in 1992, and as we talked before, it has exceeded its lifespan. Normally, you set that lifespan right about that 20 to 25 years. So we're sitting at that a little over 30 years already. So again, in that Parks Commission meeting, we elected to move forward with planning and designing of a new parks playset at Pebble Park. Recommendations for that park were to design a park to serve the ages of kids 5 to 12, incorporate a climbing structure with slides and additional benches or seating to incorporate a concrete border around the playing area. The issue before us today that we'd like to discuss is, would the Parks Commission like to recommend one of the following playset options to City Council? I did provide you with a packet with all the documents of those playsets. What I won't present in here today, but we will talk about, is just kind of the layouts of those that are kind of like how our designers set those up. Our first option offers a multiple tower structure with 3 slides and a cargo area up the main tower. So this one was presented by our flagship recreation company right here in town. They incorporated our seating areas, so we was one thing that was brought up by the commissioners, just to offer more seating there. We do have the shelter there, which is nice, but also just to incorporate that seating into the playground area for parents, visitors as well, just to enjoy and watch the kids as they play too, so. This structure, the center structure, again, the round circle kind of net area in there is kind of a more mesh fiber. It would not be subject to the ability to be cut by like a pocket knife or anything. Someone would really have to go out of their way to ruin or damage that type of material that incorporated in that tower. So same with the ropes on the project to the right of that as well. So it's not like a rope net, it's more of a fiber net that's got mesh through it, kind of similar to what we have in Carriage Station. So again, that option one went over kind of the structures and slide with that one. The total price of that one installed is $119,949. Just to reincorporate, the Public Works would remove the old structure that's there. That would eliminate some of the cost. So Public Works would remove that. That product is no longer, the city wouldn't take a liability of like trying to sell that or trying to make money off it or to donate it to anything just because of its condition. The landscaping of that, of where that current slide sits, we would have to remove some dirt in there to just make that a little more level in order to incorporate into our tot lot right to the left there, or right, as you're looking at it, to the right as well. That would be one of our major flows of that too. Our option two that Flagship also presented was very similar to the first one, a couple of slides as well as tower structures, but also includes a separate eclipse climbing net structure. Very similar to the first one. Instead of the arced design, this was a full offset example of that. Again, incorporating seating and that concrete border is important for just our guests as well as our ADA compliance that we're trying to meet through all of our parks as well. Overhead view of that just continues to show the tower structures as well as incorporating the color scheme that matches the tot lot as well as our zip line there too. We can change these colors up. This bid isn't designed for brown, yellow, and green. We can change that up. I requested that we try to meet those color combinations that kind of flow with everything else at this park. Again, we continue to use wood fiber products as the base plant for that. We have utilized rubber mulch and other ones, and Pebble rocks. We're gearing away from both of those just to stay within our realms of our rec safety standards as well. Option two offers those multiple tower structures and slides and has a grand total of $119,945. Option three is a new product that Flagship has brought out. So this has been on the market only about a year. This incorporates a couple different things. If you got any questions, don't be afraid to ask. We do incorporate the fire pole on this one, like I think one of our commissioners wanted when we discussed this, who's not here today, but he did want that. That does incorporate that, as well as kind of a interactive play theme. So as you see at the front course of that, there is kind of a banner, and what that is just kind of a sometimes kids can race or make a game of things, and it's just kind of a design to like different routes around the playground set. So I think that this one incorporates 5 or 6 different routes you can take to incorporate into that play set. Again, that middle mesh structure, I'll show it again, is more of a mesh, like fiber mesh, where it's not cuttable. It is a large area. They've incorporated that into a lot of these structures for the purpose of potentially kids with disabilities that might not be able to climb but can roll, might be able to be set in there and be able still to roll and play and still enjoy the fun of the playground set. This one does incorporate, again, a teeter-totter, a separate item, the teeter-totter as well as the voice thing. So that voice is a tube that would go to the tower. So you could send messages back and forth to one that might be on the top versus someone that might be on ground level. This one you can have a little better idea of that mesh structure in the middle. They can incorporate up through the bottom of that as well as climb to the towers. The rubber mat that goes from the tower back down to the base is more of a thick rubber mat. It does have traction on it, so it's not slippery. It's not a slide. It's more of a you would actually crawl up it or use it for an access point to the tower. Again, with all of our play sets, we're trying to incorporate just kind of that physical activity of climbing, structures, just that active fitness, right? Active play. Option 3, again, is that new Volvo product that they're offering. It offers 2 slides, a cargo net in the middle, which I talked about, and that route mat. So, which is that interactive part of it. So this one is a 40 by 40 concrete around the border, and a total price of $119,194. Our financial impact on these, again, we discussed these through our CIP. This one was placed in our CIP about 2 years ago. Just for, as we began to put these play sets into our budgets, we offered out $125,000 towards this play set. When we talked in December, we thought we could get what we needed at about that $120,000 with that buffer if needed. But I think we can still meet those standards at this point at $120,000. With that, I'll take any questions and recommendation or a motion if you approve.
I've got one quick question, Adam. So the excavation to make the area more flat, that is Public Works that would take care of that. Are there any other things that you're kind of eyeing as improvements that you would need to make there?
So yes, we are eyeing a possible trail connection between the parking lot that goes between the tot lot and this play set, all the way up to our zip line and the swing set as well. So that does prove a little bit of challenges. It might have to be zigzagged a little bit up there. We do have that pavilion up there as well, just to meet that standards of, I think it's no greater than 6% slope on that, so.
Okay, cool. But none of that is needing to be budgeted.
Correct.
Okay. I guess I would just offer that there are some ash trees that are dying, like right along. There's I think 2 to the north and 1 to the west that should probably be removed if you're in there doing some work anyways.
I'll go back to a previous PowerPoint I presented in December, and I think she's referring to the ones right behind the towers on this one, and on the picture on the right, it's actually, you can't see any of them, but if you picture on the left, there are, 3 or 4 ash trees right behind there. I did not indicate that we, with the removal of this play set and the placement for that up to 45 by 45 foot concrete border, we would remove approximately 3 trees, I think, in this one. 2 of those would be those emerald ash borer trees that are suffering from that emerald ash borer. One being a maple that probably, depending on how we place it in there, might be able to be saved, just depending on roots might be caught in the process of doing that, and at that point, it may have to be removed. But it may be something to consider of just replacement of trees in that area too after completion.
Yeah, great, thanks.
So Adam, would any replaced trees come out of the budget?
For this, no. So the 120,000 that we set is just for the play set itself and construction of that. So,
Do all of the plans require removal of trees?
yes, they would.
Option 3, does it have any benches? Doesn't show any benches.
It should include benches.
Yeah, it does say they're the same seating areas though.
Okay, but it doesn't show it in the drawings, okay.
It should incorporate benches, and if not, we'll make sure that it does. It includes a minimum of 2 benches.
Right, okay, thank you.
So this is designed for users of 5 to 12 primarily?
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall the other equipment that's staying out there, what the age range is for those?
So our tot lot, that's normally aged for your 2 to 4.
Okay.
And then our zip line is right back up there to that 5 to 12 again.
5,
Yep.
okay. So,
And then we have the swing set, of course, with a baby swing, as well as 3 other swings.
okay. I realize these are the options presented. I'm just wondering if does the playground company, are there designs that would incorporate older than 12-year-olds?
So when you get above 12, it's gonna be more of your like ninja fitness courses and things like that. It's gonna be more geared on that realm. So just more your active.
I just know that originally our recommendation was for a full user age range. The tots would be covered by the other equipment, but it looks like we're topping out at 12, so that's kind of a concern, I guess.
Yeah, I guess kind of along that line, I think all of these three options are really cool. I did notice that they're coming into the total install price right around that $120,000, even though there's a range of about $6,000 for the cost of the equipment. Is option 3 just more labor intensive to install, or is there some flex room there?
As far as the structure itself, I'm not like 100%, like I've looked down through the line items
Yeah.
of what's there, is, this worth $3,000? That I wouldn't know, as far as like what it costs to install that, or if, if that product is worth that. I didn't go into that detail on it. Are we getting a better value out of number 2 versus 1 or 3? That I'm not sure as well.
Okay,
So,
okay, yeah, fair enough.
Further questions? Looks like Pat, you have a question?
Yeah, I really like 3 because, kids love to do that racing around. Every time I go to the park, they're timing each other to do that. I like that option. I question, and I think we kind of talked about Admiral, you're working on the computer, that vocalized thing where they call from down below up to the top. I don't know if kids really use that very much. I see them, like Ellen said, putting stones on it, and I don't see very many kids calling through them. I wonder if that's something that we could eliminate. Can we kind of break it down a little bit and then maybe put that money towards something? I don't know how, I don't see it broken down on the price list here. I have no idea what the value of it is. But do we have any leeway with switching anything out on these plans?
Yeah, so some of those things are custom, for instance, that teeter-totter, or even like, I think in option 2, we had the swivel option in the corner, I believe it was, right? Yeah, so those things can be itemized out as far as like changing it if you knew you wanted if you wanted to put the teeter-totter in item 2. They would just be offset at costs and things like that. I'd have to look back at that. Is the voice thing an item?
It is not.
It is not, okay.
Back to Hank's question about the seating, you look at the price breakdown. That option 3 does not have the tender tough benches on it. The first 2 do, but option 3, when you go into the list items of what comes with it, that is not listed.
Do you have the price of those benches?
$806 each for a
Correct.
total cost of $1,612.
So, just to make sure that they are included, because they are line itemed in option 1 and 2. And those are obviously, those are necessity when you're putting these structures together. Unless that is just considered part of their, that option 3, they give you kind of one big number for their Volo package, if that's what's in that Volo package.
No, I think benches are separate from the
Yeah,
Volvo
so
package,
those
so,
are not broken out.
yeah. Okay. You'd be looking at $120,806 with 2 benches included in that.
I guess from a family of ours that visits a lot of parks, it's kind of what we do. We love to go to parks, it's our thing. I'm more in the option 1 world, only because it spreads everybody out. Okay, when you go to the park on a busy Saturday or Sunday, it's nice that you see your kids go to one certain area. If you got older kids, you know, you bring, the 5-year-olds are gonna go to the smaller slide. The 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds are gonna go to the bigger slides or to the swirling slides. You can kinda keep them kids separate. I like how that one is spread out. In a bigger area, when you look at the top view, I know it's on the PowerPoint in our packet, it's got kind of an overview top of it. It kind of spreads the kids out a little bit more. It seems like you'd be able to have more kids at the park, not congested in this option. Because kids tend to fight over slides. Because somebody always wants to go up the slide.
Well, the other thing I would point out here too is, we're doing more than one park and one place that I think a unique thing is, especially in a city this size, is that you have a variety between parks too. Okay, ooh, I know my kids like to go to, Tablyn because they have this set that's different from what's at Pebble. So, we should keep that in mind, I think.
Yeah. Just with a comment of kids going up slides and using things in creative ways. You know, I don't know, I guess that kind of drew me to option 3 because I hadn't seen anything like that before. You know, there's certainly nothing like that at any of our parks currently, but the new product, yeah, it does seem like there could be some out-of-the-box ways of using that structure, which I thought was kind of cool.
Just a personal observation from my grandchildren, that net thing at another park, not around here, is very popular.
Additional questions or clarifications?
Yeah, Adam, in your opinion, or does one of these options seem redundant to what we have at other parks that we have recently replaced, I guess? So if a structure's 25 years old, you know, it could.
So, option 1 and option 2 have very similar things that we do have at other parks. Again, this, sphere type structure, we do have to have down something similar to it. At Carriage Station, it isn't identical, but it's something similar. As well as the, Firefly Park is, the center part of number 2, has some connections to this thing. 2 different vendors, but likely, kind of some of the same, similar aspects that they're using, right? So, but if I look back at number 1 here as well, if you're familiar with Firefly, it does have that dome climbing structure in the middle, you know, that incorporates the swale stairs up to the thing. So those are the similarities I see between like some of what we already have, but that would probably be about it. Some of that new fiber tower structure stuff would be new to our park system.
The Firefly also has that twirly thing
Right.
that's similar to option 2.
The whoosh winder?
Pardon?
Is that the whoosh winder?
I have no idea. It's the one where you get 2 kids on and it starts turning.
Okay.
It's the old gate.
Sounds like a wishwinder.
Technical term.
Well, I guess along the same line of question, does the city staff, do you have a preferred option?
We do not. Based off, I said the last one was an addition to when she first sent over the recommendations. I really liked the number 1 option, but after she sent the third one, I just figured that's something that we don't have as well. Be different to our our system, but, yeah, no favorite other than those two are, look like they're maintenance-free and similar to what we can deal with.
Yeah. Did the playground inspector, the certified playground inspector on staff, had any?
So I did, yeah, viewed him with him, and of course, everything new looks great, right?
Okay,
You know, but he's,
sure, yeah,
Jason didn't have much to say, you know, with the playground set that we do have there. Like I said, there's a number of things that have been removed, and it's just time for that one, so.
Yeah, okay, great.
So we could take a motion for a recommendation. Could be one of these options, or it could be to just defer it. I mean, whatever you
Is
would.
there a way that we can discuss the options before presenting a motion and then changing it?
We agreeable to doing that? We can certainly have a discussion on playground equipment, if that's okay with everybody, before there's a motion.
Sure.
And go.
I guess I would put forth a vote for option 3. I mean, I had heard from Vito that the fire pole was a super fun element to have, and he's certainly closer to interacting with that equipment than I have been, and so, I don't know, I would put forth a vote for 3, but
I think if
all
we
of them
do
look
3,
fun.
we gotta make sure we add, the 2 benches to that motion.
Yeah.
That would have to be added to the motion. I like the fact that, you know, I like 1, but I also like the new, you know, the 3, the netting. I've never seen that before, so I like that. I like something new, something different. We'll have a unique park structure, right? New play structure that people can go to.
I would agree. I like 3, and like I said, I've seen my granddaughters who are 7 and 4, and they like that netting thing.
Do you want to get rid of the sound tunnel? Or does it not bother you that much?
I think it's kind of a waste, to tell you the truth.
That's sort of my first impression as well. I have the same experience of them being filled with rocks, and that's about it.
Oh, the experience I see is they run by it, they yell in it, they don't get the feedback that they want, and they move on. Okay.
I've never
Yeah.
seen a conversation.
Yeah,
Probably doing it on their cell phones.
Yeah, text.
at 5, yeah, okay.
Exactly.
I've seen people stand on them and, you know, try to crawl on them, not to use for the purpose they're placed there.
So could we make a motion to, make the budget to not exceed like $121,000, so we could include benches and explore the possibility of removing the voice tube? It wasn't itemized, so it might be part of the package. If it's part of the package, how do we
Part of the
feel?
package, right?
Yeah,
It's-
it's part of the package, it's part of the package. But
Yeah.
we have to include the benches,
Yes.
so do it.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to move to recommend to City Council the request to purchase and install a new playground set at Pebble Park, and to recommend option 3 with the addition of 2 benches and possible removal of the voice tube to not exceed $121,000.
A second.
Okay, well, do we need further discussion? Otherwise, I can call the question, and Adam, would you be able to pull up that, you just close?
Oh, sorry.
I can find it, no, I can find it. Incorporate the first part of the language and then, okay. So the motion is, type it out again.
Yeah. With a slight typo.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So the motion is to recommend to city council to recommend the purchase and install a new playground set at Pebble Park and to recommend option 3 with the addition of 2 benches and exploration of removing the voice tube not to exceed $121,000. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. That's 0. Motion passes. Thank you. And we are on to Tablyn Park parking.
Thank you. In the summer of 2022, commissioners conducted an on-site review of Tablyn Park. In consideration, they looked at survey results from the most recent community survey, which expressed the need for additional parking. Commissioners took those results and those comments into consideration and added parking to the CIP in 2024. Tablyn Park is sought by many for much of its winter activities, including its great sliding hill. Due to the number of users in the winter, this causes a number of vehicles to park out on Stillwater Boulevard in order to utilize the hill. In addition to the upgrade of the tennis courts in 2023, which would include tennis and pickleball courts, staff expects the number of cars to exceed the current parking spots, which is currently available there. The issue before the commission tonight is would the Parks Commission like to recommend or like to extend the current parking lot to add an additional 10 parking spots. So Public Works staff reviewed the parking lot up there, and what we're looking to do is again, would be removing some trees as well as just extending that parking lot about 100 to 110 feet to the north. We'd include the, nothing would be changed with the current parking, it'd just be a continuation of the parking down, slightly down the hill. So with that would become the removal of some of these larger pine trees, the removal of the black dirt to make that level, and removal of that subsoil to get that down for an asphalt base so we don't ruin our investment right out of the gate. Removal of probably about, depending on what type of substance is there, it could be up to 2 feet, just similar to our tennis courts. That would all, again, be done by Public Works and our staff. Upon removal of that, we'd install the base layer, install the aggregate base, again, completed by Public Works staff. The asphalt would be our only subcontracted part of this project. That would come from a vendor that would reach out to pave this 110 feet. We would likely have to install some type of border or retaining wall. A lot of times we've used, very similar to our dog park, we've used boulders. We don't expect it to be very tall, but just enough to retain or hold from the grading part of it, from removing that dirt, that is kind of a slight hill, so we'd have to put some type of wall there just to hold back that dirt. We'd install parking blocks as well as install additional trees in that area that we took out. So again, just a different angle of that. The asphalt driveway itself is in very, I'd say, good shape. Not to the point where we'd have to do any additional paving or, look at it and say, hey, should we be removing that in general? So that's in good condition. Again, we'd probably be looking to come down right to about that last crack seal crack that you see across that's going left to right there. So our current CIP has $75,000 towards additional parking in Tablyn Park. I've listed out kind of what we expect to pay, and that was in contact with some of our contractors, especially the asphalt part of it, but just kind of what we pay as well for some of those materials. If it'd be the sand base that we'd have to purchase to bring in, as well as those parking blocks and additional new trees in that area. So we're looking at about a $27,500 or $28,000 project. Much of the savings of this project compared to what we initially put in there was, for the most part, is because Public Works will be doing that. I mean, if we contracted out that excavating, if you remember when we did the tennis courts, much of that bid was for the excavating, the removal of that 2 feet of soil inside that inside those play areas. So that's a huge help in this project. I think is very beneficial. At this point, I'll take any questions. This project was reviewed by the Parks Commission in 2015 as well as 2007, or 2019. Maybe a couple of you might remember the discussions on that. I can show you what was kind of presented by the planner at that time. Their project was to actually, there's a lot more discussion at that time. It was talks about removing the playground set or the swing as well as the basketball courts and kind of focusing that parking lot up in there. We did review that again. However, it'd be very difficult. I mean, you're gonna have people parking away from each other, and then you're kind of ruining that access down the new bridge and stuff that they put there. So that's why, one of the reasons why we stemmed away from that, as well as, you're removing two of the amenities that people go up there for. The second option that was brought up in 2000, I think the 15, was to put the parking lot down towards the bottom. I'll just oh, do you guys see that or no?
But you mean down by where they have that water treatment thing, right?
Yeah, yep. I don't know why you can't see that.
I'm actually having the contractor for the water treatment plant come out to city council, I think on the 16th, to talk about that treatment plant and how long it's gonna be here. I know we did get an approval for another 10 million gallons of water to be pumped out of the creek in order to, keep testing and stuff like that. But if you're interested in that particular thing, 16th, city council are gonna have a presentation on it.
Sorry that you can't see that, but they did utilize the driveway that does go down to that temporary treatment plant, as well as it was a smaller parking lot. It looks like it consisted of probably about the same, about 10 to 12 parking spots. At that time, they were talking about additional things there, which we'll talk about in our next topic, about, a potential ice rink there, a potential soccer field there, removing the baseball field. And that's a topic for for our next topic, but just to let you know, there was topics at that time to bring that parking lot down there. With discussion on that, the only problem that Public Works staff is seeing from that is that is in the close to the river where it might be in that flood zone. So we're afraid potential increases or improvements down there could be potentially ruined by high flood waters, or just trying to get people up and out of that slight hill if it was slippery in the winter as well. So just something that we took into consideration of at this point, maybe this is probably our best asset, is just to extend what we have up on top for the time being, to see what our needs might be in the future for that park.
All right. Questions about Tablyn Park parking?
Are you planning on aligning the parking, painting lines? I didn't see that in here.
So no, the lines up there are currently not painted. We are going through something on a sidebar of some crossways within our city. It might be an opportunity that we could utilize our potential vendor, or Public Works does that, to line it if needed.
Some people need lines.
Okay.
I guess I have a couple questions. I mean, obviously, we've got the parking part in front of us and the Tablyn Park park remake of on our next agenda item, and they kind of go hand in hand. So when this came out, we made a little family trip to the park, right? We want to see what can be done. So as I look at the picture in front of us, has there been talk about relocating the swing set? You look at families, you've got the play structure down below the hill, you've got the swings up on top. It seemed obviously simple from my vantage point of moving the swing set down below by the play structure and even removing the basketball court. If that got removed, move the handicap closer to the pickleball, tennis ball courts, you could extend and you'd probably gain more parking spots. You'd be able to, again, it was a quick tape measure. You would still have the parking the way it is. You could almost, there was a couple, I don't know if the trees were dying, but they're not looking the best because the pine trees are gorgeous, right? They love the pine trees. Hate to see them be removed. It seemed like if we removed a couple trees just right behind the swing set, we could probably gain, you'd have like a middle, almost like 3 rows of parking. You would gain quite a few spots. You'd have them almost facing into the woods area there, and then in the middle, you would have some open spots as well. Again, it would have to be lined and striped that way. Has there been any of that kind of discussion? Because the park layout down below the hill is wonderful. With during the winter, you've got the great sliding hill. You got the baseball field, and you have the green space with the park benches, then permanent concrete benches. We have our spring Boy Scout scavenger hunt there every year, and it's a wonderful place to have it. Those are just, I see these two things kind of going hand in hand in these two kind of, for Tablyn Park.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for the comments on that. You know, we did look and measure up on top, as well, and that, and that was one of the things, is like, are we willing to get rid of 2 amenities to, with the potential of moving or replacing them, right? Or, just, and that's that discussion for that next one.
Right.
And so I don't think, if in the future, like, that'd be out of the question, if we agree to extend it this way, like, we could always extend it back as well, where we come in and make more of a loop, maybe a circle loop, in and out. But we would want to eliminate that parking on the hillside for that purpose of that access to the trail along the tennis courts, that access to the stairway down, as
stairwell
well,
there, yes.
as well as just that access to that hill in the winter too. Because if we park cars either lined up vertically or horizontally to it, then all some people got it's that safety thing of parking over here, walking against traffic to go across there too. So.
Well,
I mean, I guess just one thing, looking at this picture here, I know that those trees have been trimmed now, and they look to be doing fine, but I know that one is a blue spruce, which has, its days could be numbered. So, I don't know, they don't seem, they're nice, don't get me wrong, but they don't seem irreplaceable to me.
So no matter what option is decided for additional parking, would there ever be no parking signs along the driveway?
We try to eliminate that as much as we can. Signage is one thing that, is, in road rehabs might be one situation. In parks, we try to minimize as much as we can, just to continue the beauty of the park, right? I mean, if you litter them with signs and all of a sudden, that's all you look at, versus the rest of it. So I would tend to go down the avenue of try not to if we don't have to.
Okay. Because I can see there's people playing pickleball and tennis, other people utilizing the fields, or just the playgrounds, even if we left the ball field as it is and whatnot, that you could get more than 20 cars there. Or your scavenger hunt or something like that. There's multiple things going on in the park.
you get 20 cars along could you explain where,
There's 10 spots now, and if we changed, you'd be add 10 more spots.
okay.
And so I'm just thinking about overflow parking, because it's a long way to walk up the hill from Stillwater, and I think people end up parking on the driveway like they often do in the winter when they're sliding. So that's, I was just asking.
Well, that's where you'd go to the option of moving the swing set and the basketball court.
Yes.
This will get you the 10 spots, and then the next assessment is to see what we do with those 2 amenities.
Can you get 10 spots or 11, 12 spots doing the same thing except for leaving the trees and just going north of the trees. I guess I'm, blue spruce or not, not fully mature, well, they're close to mature, I guess, but they're perfectly good trees. I have a hard time getting behind a parking lot built by removing trees. So I'm wondering, yeah, if you can put it on the other side, people, you know, you lose.
Does it slope too much is the main
It
thing.
starts to slope there.
Oh, you mean on the backside here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a struggle trying to get, you know, creating, this roadway up through here, like.
No,
right?
no.
Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying,
Jog 20 feet.
yeah,
north.
not put two or three parking spots where the trees are, just starting it after.
Oh, gotcha.
I guess,
Same design, just move it.
Move it downwards.
20
We
feet.
might be limited, I mean, those, they, like you said, they have been trimmed back. You might be limited to probably, by the time you get it curved around there, probably 3 to 4, you know, depending on how far you come down.
The hill starts pretty close to here.
yeah.
One question I have is kind of related to the positioning of where the current parking lot ends and where the potential addition would start as well. So the handicap parking, or the accessible parking spot is there on the north corner. Would there, I guess I don't know what the specifics are of what makes a good accessible parking spot. Would that need to be moved so that?
No, we probably wouldn't move that parking spot. What
Okay.
she's indicating is, yes, we do have a handicap parking spot. I believe it's like right where this car is, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So I think it was placed there for the purposes of not putting it right behind the basketball court there, right? Or
Oh,
right
okay.
next to the playground.
Okay.
So, with that, I would probably hesitate to say that, like, we'd probably leave it where it was at.
Okay.
You know, so that, people with disabilities or people that would need that would still be on top of the hill versus trying to climb that hill, because that probably does not meet.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I guess it just raises the point, though, that if there does need to be some lining, to create a buffer so folks can open the doors and things like that.
Yeah.
I would be a proponent of considering that.
Does the number of parking spots indicate how many how many accessible spots are needed? Like if we have 20 spots, do we need to have another?
It does. I
accessible
think it's
spot?
I think it's over 25, because if you remember when we did the parking lot, or proposal down at Ivywood, we had to have 4 for the purposes of a parking lot that held about approximately 30. I think we're right above that threshold.
Thank you. Would it be good to talk about our next item before we?
Well,
do
that's what I
this?
we could move to table this item and combine it with the next agenda item, which I've heard several people reference the next agenda item.
We can pause it and come back to it.
Table for 20.
We would need a motion to do so.
Well, I'll make a motion to table the agenda item of Tablyn Park parking.
Second.
Do you have to have a time limit for that?
Yeah, technically we should.
Oh, okay, I'll move to table it until after we talk about the Tablyn Park agenda item.
Still second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any nays? No nays? We will table that to combine with our discussion. on the next agenda item. Tablyn Park amenities.
Can you see that?
No.
Okay, so it's just a report that we put together, and you guys all do have a copy of that. I don't have an additional PowerPoint for this one. Just wanted to bring up these questions that we are kind of reviewing right now and kind of going over. But, as you remember, last month I asked you just, if you had a moment or whatever, just to take a walk through Tablyn Park and discuss maybe some future updates that we could do there. This park has been brought up as kind of like more of our destination. It's more than just your normal community park. Or neighborhood park, and more of a community park. It's a place where people gather, or they're intended to go there to do a certain activity. So it is, it doesn't fall in our largest park, but it does fall in that realm of a 8.5 acres, a little over that, as being a larger park that we do have. So. And just a reminder, in 2022, the city conducted that community survey. Results from that survey indicated that 61% would like to see the basketball court refurbished, and 94% would like to see the playground updated. Also included in those questions that I didn't put in here were the upgrades to the pickleball tennis courts area as well in that survey. So the issue before us today is just to kind of bring up some discussion and talks about what would the Parks Commission like to see the replacement of the playset, or movement of that playset? What's our future thoughts of that baseball field, removal or keep it? Would the Parks Commission like to see a soccer nets installed at Tablyn Park? Would you like to see the basketball court removed or updated? We talked about, Mike talked about just moving that parking lot in that direction. Would it be more feasible to move the swing set down with the other one and make a full court size basketball court there, going north and south? And finally, would the Park Commission like to see a pavilion installed in our park? So one of those things, that's a situation that comes up as we transition from just that neighborhood park to more of that community park, is that we look for those shades and those opportunities to gather there, for people to go there for a purpose, right? And so if they're renting it out to utilize, or, just for that additional shade and that extra activity as well. Just some background with that, the playground set is due to be replaced in 2026. That place that was initially installed in 1997, and again, with our 25-year lifespan, that's exceeded that, or closer exceeding that. So staff suggests putting the swing set and that play set together, regardless of where you place it. If you bring it back up to the top, or maybe it's contrary to what I said before, but maybe it's just across from the parking lot driveway. There is a kind of a knoll on the far end. If it's a smaller play set and swing set that we could put there, that'd be the far south of the sliding hill. Or again, just putting all those amenities down below. With talks to the baseball field, with 10 baseball fields in the community and current consideration for a pinwheel complex, should we consider removing a ball field? Is that something that should be considered by the Parks Commission? We currently drag those fields as just maintenance right now. We don't see a whole lot of playing down there. It's probably more just like people running across it and maybe throwing balls down to their dogs off the hill. That's a great asset that you see a lot of people doing there right now. But just into consideration, for something to consider. The current basketball court's a half size. I just talked about maybe increasing that, or just keeping it as it is, or different placement for that as well. It does have Tablyn Park currently does not have a shelter or a pavilion for a rental, so we've considered that just because of the upgrade, or from just that knowledge of knowing it's no longer that neighborhood park and moving to that community park. Financial impact, at this time, there's no financial impact. We're just looking for those considerations, or have that discussion. It's just something we should be looking for this park in the future to make it more accessible for our residents, as well as something that they're driving to go see, to use.
Thank you. We can open that for discussion, which should include parking. I'll start it off by being perhaps controversial and saying, I think we maybe look at reducing the amount of amenities in this park based on the topography of it. I think it's got some really great assets for a sliding hill. Obviously, we installed pickleball and tennis, which we're hopefully can get that lined and painted and lined and up and running. But as it is now, I hear, Mike, I hear you use that for a scavenger hunt. I do, though, think that the placement of the ballpark is poor, I guess, with having to walk down all the stairs, and as is the playground. It's out in the open. Maybe we don't reduce it altogether, but relocating it for sure. It's out in the open with zero shade, and it's, as far as accessibility, you know, that accessibility parking, I don't know this, but I'm just gonna speculate that there's not a lot of folks that are gonna take somebody that needs that parking spot to go to a playground down those steps and across the field. So I kind of look at reducing this. I don't see the need to make this into a community park. Again, based on the topography and how it's laid out.
I feel like I definitely agree with some elements there. With the discussion items, just thinking about the layout. Yeah, I think that I am certainly intrigued by the suggestion of maybe removing the baseball field and installing soccer nets and just having more of that open field down below. And doing something different with moving the swings and the play structure together. I do think like that the swings are not shaded at all. But I think that the play structure, you know, it is kind of nestled in a little pocket down there by the woods, and so that's kind of nice. But on the south end of the park, yeah, if you're just driving up to the parking lot, you kind of have to look for where it's at, you know? So maybe there is an opportunity to move it somewhere else. And I think that along with the utility of the certain amenities, the basketball area, the asphalt's in fine condition, and so I don't want to suggest removing something that has a fine purpose, but yeah, maybe there's a higher use for that area in parking at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'd say about the basketball court, I find little use for a half-court basketball court in areas that have basketball hoops on their garages and can have a half-court basketball court anywhere. I love full-court basketball courts. I don't honestly know how much they're utilized, but we have one in Carriage. We have one in DeMontreville. If we're looking at geographically spreading out and finding, we removed the one in Pebble, correct? That's not there anymore. That was a half court, which to me makes, I think that was a good decision. We'd make a full court basketball court someplace geographically at a park, you know, that's in a good location. That makes a lot of sense to me. Half court basketball courts just simply don't make a lot of sense to me. Again, that may be controversial, but that's my perspective on it.
I mean, just anecdotally, I do see the half-court basketball court at Reed Park being used pretty frequently. Yeah.
I would agree, it is used quite frequently, but it's also more neighborhood park, right? You get a lot of
Exactly.
kids that walk
Exactly.
walk to that park, they're not really walking to Tablyn.
See, the problem with this park is there's two customers or two service things. I am speculating that the place that was put at the south end because it's closer to the houses and that trail that cuts back through there.
Sure.
You're shaking your head.
No, so I used to live close to Tablyn Park. When my kids were growing up, we lived real close. We lived right by the train viaduct, and they would walk out there all the time. And they would use the ball field all the time, and they would get the kids from Tablyn Park to play against the kids. I lived in Frederickville, and they would use it all the time. And there used to be VAA practices, if not games, there then. This was in the 80s. And the playground was put there. I know people talked about it so that their kids could play while their older kids were playing ball and so forth. And there was controversy about setting it back because there used to be a huge tree there, a really big cottonwood tree, and that's why they ended up putting it way in the back because of the positioning of the trees that were existing at that time.
But don't you agree there's two sets of customers there? There are the people that come from the neighborhood that walk in, and then there's the people who park. So,
Tablyn is still on the VAA baseball list as a potential practice facility, as a practice. When you sign up and you get your team, you pick your parks where you want to have your practice. It's still listed
It's
on there
listed.
as a VAA option.
Do you know if they use it for soccer or football anymore?
They do, there's teams that practice in the green space for football. Soccer, I'm not aware of, but I do know that the VAA flag, it's, because it's listed as a baseball, it's also listed as a flag football practice location, because Lucy Winton is so busy. So they list these other green space areas, but I do agree that it should have a soccer net there or a couple. The baseball field, you take it or leave it, I mean, it's not the easiest to get to with the stairs, but it's tucked in a nice little spot that, the way the wood was all set up nice for it. And the play structure is, like Ellen said, it's tucked in a corner, it's got the really nice concrete, picnic tables, and there is a lot of green space for kids to run around in and play. And obviously, we're gonna replace this here in the next 3 to 4 years, and maybe that's the time when the swing set and the play structure is all one, but I do like it down below the hill. I think it adds to it, especially if it's gonna be a busy, when the pickleball nets are up, it's gonna be really busy, so you're gonna have two different groups of people. If the swing set gets replaced and you decide to put a play structure there, you've really congested one area of the park versus maybe the picnic area, the families that aren't playing pickleball will be down below the hill running in the green space, kicking soccer balls, throwing footballs on the play structure in the picnic tables.
but move the swings.
Move the swings.
Move the swings.
And pickleball is a family sport. You go to a lot of parks where you see families playing. It's not just adults, and some of the kids will be down on the playground structure too.
I
Mike,
agree
can
with
I-
the removal of the basketball court, though.
Mike, can I ask your opinion on the ball field? If you were to remove the aggregate material in there and just make it a grass field, like with a backstop? I know the Lake Elmo Park Reserve has a couple of those. Like, they've kind of turned them into old fields, so you still have the suggestion of baseball without the maintenance. Do you see utility of something like that, or?
It could still be
Does it-
used for the same purpose. It absolutely could be.
Okay,
You could
but it-
still accomplish, it doesn't, you could still use it as a practice field.
Okay.
Absolutely, if we
Okay, so-
remove the aggregate.
Okay, and then I guess that would be a question for Adam. Is there a maintenance savings there that would be attractive, or is it no? And you don't have,
It might be a wash as far as, after you seed it, I mean, your lawn contractor is gonna mow it anyway, right?
Oh, sure.
Versus, I mean, you're still gonna have somebody go there to
yeah, okay,
maintain it.
okay.
So this is a sidebar question. Someone drove across the field because the gate is down. Is the gate down because of the research trailer that's there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's laying in the ditch.
Okay.
Car.
I
I
think,
can follow up with our administrator as well on that. I think they are entitled to keep some border there to eliminate people from going down there, but.
thank you. I think, we haven't gotten to this yet, but I think a pavilion would be, or some sort of shade structure would be a great asset to that park. I think everybody would use it. Pickleball players would walk down, families, people watching their kids at the playground.
Would you put it down by the where the playground is?
Yeah, we put it down below. I think that be the most practical place to put it. As far as the basketball court, at the high school at the PAC, 5 days a week, there's about 40 guys playing basketball from 11:30 to 1:30, adults. I see more value, like you say, in having the full-size court than the half court.
Yeah, I would just really like to think strategically about where we've got them now, where we've got these different amenities and how we can spread them out. And so when you call your friends up to say, let's go to Carriage, if you live up in that quadrant, you go to Carriage Station, you go to, whether it's wherever it is down in this location. But the half court, I think, again, doesn't get that phone call of let's go play basketball at a half court location. You can do that in your driveway.
Well, I think, Chair, you're kind of talking about, is Tablyn redundant? I mean, you start looking at, as a bigger park, as a larger park, because you got Pebble there.
Yeah, Pebble is not that far away, and again, I do think some of this stuff is, again, I tend, by now, I tend to try and look that larger picture in the full context of, we're putting 121,000, it's not the hugest amount of money, but we're building a new playground that's set up for 5 to 12-year-olds. I'm not super keen at doing the same thing at all of our parks. I don't think that's necessary when you look at it fiscally and really how you have to use. I know that there is a pathway to the south here, but at least doing something that's got some variation to it, so it isn't redundant. Nothing isn't the answer, but.
Well, if I may channel our missing commissioner, I feel like Vito may advocate as might be logical as well, to think about maybe when that play structure is replaced, to think about some more active fitness equipment for older or for adults. And that maybe could replace some of that functionality, I guess, of the basketball court, which, I mean, okay, so a half court is whatever. If you change it to a full court, I think that you start to have some issues with the proximity to the parking there.
Yeah.
So that doesn't seem super logical. I think that pickleball, the tennis, yeah, that is multi-generational, all ages sport. But if people are waiting around, sometimes folks like to do something as well. And so, yeah, maybe that fitness equipment could be nice down below and replace what an older age group could do.
I think the answer with the ballpark is to figure out what we're doing with the big ballpark situation. And then talk to the ball association to see what their input is. That's kind of where I would head on that. Because we don't know where this big, huge ball thing is going to go.
So with all of these ideas, does it give you ideas on the parking?
I think it's no problem to continue the pause. It's a good idea, but unless our pickleball expert thinks that it's needed in the short term.
There are 4 courts there. It's 16 players, but people waiting. 10-car parking lot is not big enough currently.
Guess we need to do it the right way, not just Band-Aid 10 spots, we need to do it the right way.
Yeah, and I think from that perspective, again, that pickleball, once that opens, it's gonna be busy. You're not going to be able to have a baseball team come in either. So again, I think we've got to focus in. I think we've got pickleball and tennis. We're gonna need a parking lot regardless. Certainly another play structure. I'm in favor of there's the dome thing on option 2, I think, the string. There's ones that tower up that are great for, I don't know, I can't say 1, 2-year-olds, but probably 4 or 5-year-olds up to high schoolers, adults for that matter. Something like that, that's distinct, again, that has a broad audience, a gazebo down there, but then eliminating that basketball, eliminating the baseball, because it's gonna be too crowded even with parking well done on the topography of that park. I think, that's obviously my perspective.
Is the field at Tablyn Park, is that in the rental?
It's not.
It's not, okay,
No, you don't book that one.
okay. So yeah, then you could easily remove it from without having any financial impact of rentals that way.
I guess, yeah, related to the parking, I don't see a huge issue with adding 10 spaces now, and then when the asphalt needs to be redone, you know, doing a phased approach. Add in 10 spots for a low cost this summer. You know, it's my personal opinion that those 3 trees that are in the way, yeah, they're clearly planted there. They are not like native trees, and so I think that if they seem totally replaceable in my personal opinion. So maybe there's a quick fix to get to at least 10 more spots to make that pickleball amenity that we've invested in much more usable. And then in 2026, when the play structures are getting replaced, think about others, phase 2, if you will.
Adam?
Mike, did you ask if Tablyn was reservable, like,
Yes.
for baseball? Yes, it is. So that park is reservable for, it was initially placed on the list this last time they updated the policy for baseball. I think now it's gonna be very usable with the addition of pickleball up there, so yes.
It's gonna be very usable, you said?
Yeah, as far as reserving the park, right, or reserving amenity there.
Yeah.
So that will be probably useful in that, because we've already had clubs reserve Pebble and ask about Tablyn, about
Cool.
reserving
For the,
for pickleball
Pickleball, okay,
coming forward.
okay.
Yep.
how has the baseball diamond been
No,
reserved?
no.
Okay.
No.
That was hard to say, sorry. Well, I guess if the resident ecologist doesn't have a problem with the trees going, I'm less, but I have a hard time with that. But it does seem like we're, I think, coming together with a picture here a little bit of what this looks like, so I think it's good discussion for sure. And that phased approach seems to make some sense too, as long as we're thoughtful about whether there actually is, you know, a phase available to us, right? That something could actually be done if it turns out that, you know, Pat, I think, has a good sense of what numbers you'd see. And so if that quickly fills out, I did want to clarify though, Pat had asked this question about parking along the road, along the drive. Obviously, if we added spaces there, then those are going to be eliminated, but is that something the city allows, is for people to park along the drive? I mean, is there?
Currently, yeah. You know, out of respect, I think, you know, people don't park on both sides, because then you're
Right.
extremely limited.
Yeah.
And I think they have seen that in the winter. You know,
Okay.
people try to get up as high as they can just to
Okay.
make it so it's a one-way path. And that's what's brought the struggle and the conversation of additional parking there.
And you don't want the people parking on Stillwater.
No, well,
It's not a good place to park.
I don't know why, why one would, but, okay.
No, I do, I appreciate the feedback, the conversation that we had on these topics, and, you know, yeah, the phase project of it, I think would be, you know, definitely something we could always bring back, as a discussion, but, you know, on our side, I think we asked you to just kind of keep some of these things in mind as we look at the CIP in a couple months, you know, if it's something we could put out and, you know, we got the playground set in 2026, but is it a pavilion at about the same time, or, you know, 2028, or whatever that might be. But just keep those things into consideration. If they do meet that requirement of $25,000 or more, that might be something like that. But as well as just even our, you know, our yearly plan, right? If it's something that you think that's manageable, that we should have in that, our yearly plan, let's have that discussion prior to making that document for the following year, right? So, let's have those discussions ahead of time.
I have a couple of questions that are kind of off base. The height of the benches on the ball field are this far off the ground.
The wooden ones?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Is there a reason for that?
I think it's just been over time, right? So,
Has it been added, the gravel's been added?
yeah, the gravel's been added, or, you know, as they drag the ball fields, a lot of times they go in
Yes.
circles, right? And so,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Okay.
no fault at anybody, sometimes it's seasonals, right?
Okay.
Or might, you know, got trained one day and then, you know, this is week 5, right? And sometimes that material just continues to go out versus to stay in the center of the.
Okay,
of
it
the
wasn't
field. So,
intentional,
Yeah.
right. Now, some teams rent the soccer fields at Pebble Park, is that right?
Correct, yep,
Are-
that's
are
rented from
those-
April till about June.
Is there a high demand for that? Would having a field available at Tablyn offset demand on Pebble Park?
So the only thing that I would say with that is like, you know, and I think it goes back to, you know, what other commissioners and Peter has said too, is like you know, are we gonna have soccer in every park now? You know, is like, cause that one's, you know, that's your next closest park probably to Pebble, is like, or would it be more usable to remove it from Pebble and move that whole club over to Tablyn? I mean, that's a conversation to have, if that, you know, if that's not the way we wanna roll with it, so. You know what I mean? But as far as having, you know, is there people reaching out, numerous clubs reaching out to rent either the same space or multiple spaces at the same time? I would say not to Pebble. And is it because someone's already got it reserved? Possibly. Like I don't take the reservation calls, but you know, but they are reusing. You know, we have a group that uses Reed as well with the baseball field. So I mean, you know, take those things into consideration, so.
Okay, all right. Then one other question. If we're looking at a pavilion or something, a structure like that, does the J.C.'s group or anything like that, is there a group that we could maybe talk to about saying this would be a neat project down the line? You know, to have some organization help fund a pavilion? Is that something that we could, you know, start working on? Do you know of any organizations in the city who might consider that?
Yeah, we got a couple that we work with currently right now. You know, yeah, definitely can have conversations with them as far as funding. I know our Lions Club over the years, I actually think we've merged with Oakdale at this point. The rep did reach out to me recently, said they're interested in just, you know, volunteer activities or any events that we would have to, you know, help promote or volunteer at those as well. But we do have, you know, the J.C.'s as well as the Rotary Club. And then there is a Lake Elmo club as well. Mistaken on the name right off the bat, but also helps with downtown activities as well as just lighting up Lake Elmo. That conversation got started with the warming house too with them. Just some potential efforts of just upgrades to that in the future. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, we can move to the next agenda item, which is untabling Tablyn Park parking. And I don't know, from my perspective, but I think that discussion provided some clarity around what we'd want to do, but further questions for Adam on this, or
One question. So the current CIP, I don't know, about $50,000 would, if we move to recommend this current proposal, that would go back into our funds, I guess, right?
Yeah, they're just saying the park dedication funds, there's no changes in that, it's just, you know, I did provide you guys this month with our current fund balance on that. But yeah, those fund balances would still be in that park dedication fund. 'Cause, and that's why we, you know, that's a CIP item, so that's where those funds are coming from, is that park dedication.
Yep,
Anything
okay.
less than that would come from regular maintenance or the regular public works budget.
Okay, thanks.
Would you like a motion?
If you want to give
I
one.
move to recommend to the city council the proposed extension of the parking lot at Tablyn Park.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion? I'm just gonna throw out there again, if you can hopscotch over the trees and go towards the north. That is the right, I'm saying the right direction, right?
Yeah.
Right. You're correct.
Other than that, so be it.
Can you tell what the third tree is from the photo?
Well, one's a blue spruce and two others
Right.
are other conifers.
Okay, but they're like 40 years old.
Yeah, they're probably, right?
Yeah.
Probably planted one.
Yeah, when my
for
kids
the-
were.
Yeah,
Back in the 80s.
Yes, yes.
Call the vote.
So I call the question on moving to recommend the city council proposed extension of parking lot at Tablyn Park. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? There's none. Motion passes. We're to communications. And I don't know if commissioners have thoughts on future agenda items soon or down the road. Otherwise, if.
Is there any timeline on the ball fields?
No, currently right now, the, conversation is still on, land acquisition.
Okay, all right. That's fine. I just wanted to see.
We do have a couple though, right?
Yeah,
Potential.
potentially.
Ridge Park communication is on there?
Yeah, so, if, I like the conversation that we have on these parks, and I think that's one of the things that we may have been lacking in the past, is kind of just getting out there and seeing them and presenting ideas and just having that open discussion of it, whether it's good, change, whether to keep it the same, and, you know, so with that, I'd like to just kind of continue as the months allow, to just, bring up some ideas and bring up some, maybe some potential leave it alone. So just a quick walkthrough through Ridge Park next. That does have a conservation easement on it. Just remember that. If you have questions on that, we can send that to you. But again, that one does have that playground set as well as that baseball field. The parking lot was used mainly as a staging center last year for the upgrades to the community there. That's kind of been reestablished. We do have a porta potty there. But I asked commissioners just take a walk through that one, and again, let's have that discussion of what needs to be changed, or what do we leave alone?
Yeah, I think this is a good idea to do that. And don't forget places like Legion Avenue North Park and the De Montreville Wildlife Park. You know, some of those off ones that we could include and go look at, so. I think it's a good idea. Good discussion tonight.
And I take that into consideration because I look back through years of Parks Commissions, and there's not a whole lot of background on them. And so just to hear feedback of, you know, people that have lived here for a number of years and been through them and seen what was there, wasn't there, it's always great feedback.
Well,
from
and I
us.
think, as was pointed out earlier, the things change too, the usage changes. So,
I was just gonna say further communications from commissioners?
I would like to report that the park bench in Sunfish Park that was donated by the Four Sisters was put up today with the plaque on it. It looks really nice. It's a nice spot.
Good.
And it was, the work, my husband and I checked it out on Saturday, and we saw the concrete base there, and today the bench is there, and everything looks great.
Did you test it?
Took a picture of it, so.
Wasn't super low or
I'll
You know,
check it
sometimes they
tomorrow.
get real low.
Yeah. No, it wasn't super low. It looked like it was just right for me.
Good, that's great.
Yeah, though, yes, Public Works staff put that in today. There's a little bit of landscaping and stuff that needs to be done there yet, but, Mary was notified as well today that they're, hopefully I got to use it first, but I don't think they were able, so we'll see what happens.
And there's a lot of people in the dog park, and some fencing. I don't know if the fencing's done. They were there last week doing a lot of fencing.
So fencing started last week, the plowing was completed, as far as the building side, that was completed today. Benches have been installed there, so, it's going a little bit quicker with our early spring. So I think, yeah, we'll start putting some information together for a potential opening in that in, potentially May, early May, so.
Where do you anticipate placing the sign? Would it be closer to the street or next to the fence itself?
So it'll be out near the street, out near, Jamaica Avenue, yep.
Do you have an item? No, okay.
The only other thing I have, Saturday, April 6th, the Lake Elmo Baseball's doing a park cleanup at Lions Park and VFW Park. All people are supposed to attend, so if you're out and about, they're cleaning the park.
Well, that was a productive meeting. And would take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No. That wasn't, there's no opposition.
Get along so well.
I just wanted to say that wasn't me saying